Hey everyone, welcome to the Beyond Extent podcast, a podcast dedicated to a chat between two environment artists discussing everything about the industry we work in. I'm Timothy and I'm joined by William, who is a friend and fellow colleague of mine. In this episode, we will be discussing the progress we've made on our first batch of tutorials, how we dealt with software upgrades during university, and what impact moving countries had on us once we were done studying. Especially this last part was a really big topic, and we had to cut it short for this one, so expect more on that topic in the future. Let's dive in. Here we go, we're back.
Hey.
How are you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. I hope I'm not getting sick. I'm feeling a little bit under the weather, but I think it's just, a little morning sniffles and then it should be okay.
The morning sniffies.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's so scary to get sick in these times.
Yeah, there's always this weird thing in the back of your head, right? You're like,
Yeah. Even
but I mean,
we didn't go out, so there should be no risk at all. But
yeah,
still.
exactly. I've been a good boy.
Yeah, actually talking about that, we're planning to go out today, which sounds so weird today to say, but
Mm,
it's been over like 2 months since
yeah.
we haven't gone out at all. Like we went for the occasional walk, but
Yeah.
like now we're actually preparing to go on public transport and go to city center and just do some stuff.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, I know, man.
Crazy
Oh
peaks.
shit. We got our
Yeah.
masks. We're properly prepared, so it should be fine. But it's so weird how quickly that these things change, right?
Yeah. I visited my mom for Mother's Day, and I went with public transport, and it felt weird. And also people like before when I was on public transport once before, and people had like I'd say like 80% of people had masks on, but on Mother's Day it was only like maybe 50%. So I
Mm,
think people are already
they're
they're
starting to
hearing
slack.
that people might the restriction might get a little bit like lighter or whatever, and they're already thinking, oh, this is fine now.
Yeah. We already had the spike, so the worst is over.
Yeah, I guess.
That's
And I don't
basically.
know, my dad was for his birthday he was planning, which is like in 2 weeks, he was like planning to go to a restaurant and stuff, and he's already reserved a table.
Oh God.
Yeah, and that feels really strange, right? I mean, from then on it's allowed that they're open, but I've already heard something like, oh yeah, there's like 7 new corona cases by one, like through one restaurant visit or something. It's I don't know,
Yeah.
it still feels really strange.
Man, this is so weird because I really want to go back to just normal life, but it's gonna take such a long time before you can properly do that.
Yep.
Oh man. Yeah, I wanna go
Yeah.
back to to restaurants and all that stuff too. It's been
Yeah, it was
such a
nice,
long
right?
time. Yeah. Remember those days when you could just go to the restaurant?
Crazy stuff.
What have
Yeah,
you
and I mean,
Oh, sorry, man.
uh, yeah, we were talking about that in the first episode, right? All that's like how I like to work in the phases, and I have the
Mhm.
phase where I just want to play video games, or I want to do other stuff, and then I want to work on my personal work.
Yeah.
And I would have thought that now that I'm at home, I really get that itch again, and I want to start working on something. But for me, this whole time has been like super demotivating for like work wise.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Is it like mentally taxing in that way, where you're just sitting in the same environment the entire time, so you don't really get the variation that you need to kickstart your creativity in some way?
Yeah, maybe it's just that I don't like I don't walk around the city and I'm like, oh, this looks cool. I want to make this. I want to include this in my little scene or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's that, but it's just been I don't know. Yeah, creativity hasn't struck me lately,
Mhm.
or maybe I just use it all up at work. I don't know, but I don't think so. Usually I have some over,
Yeah.
like some left over for home. But
Yeah, I think from
it's
my
been a
side
weird time.
that's definitely the case though. Like it feels that work is taxing, like more taxing than it was before, because it's harder to find the separation between work and personal work.
Yes.
But like work in general, like work has gone a little bit down in terms of like stress itself. Like it's sort of this weird thing where like we're still taking stuff quite chill. Like no one's really stressed in the office. Like nothing really big is happening, if you want to call it that. But
Yeah.
there's yeah, it's just like working from home. This additional stress that causes might just yeah, it might just hit your creative spirit in some way.
Yeah. And it's kind of like that meme that someone posted at work the other day, right? With this uh oh, I can't I don't know. I want to be done looking at bad screen so I can go home and look at good screen, right? And it's kind of that, but right now the good and the bad screen is the same.
Yeah, yeah.
So you don't really get that separation. It felt really fitting. I don't know. It's just
Yeah, yeah.
like the only thing I do from like switching over from work to like being at home is turn off my VPN, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
It's like
That's the only
that's
thing that
that's the big
changes.
barrier. I don't have to like buzz out of the building, get on the train, get home,
Hmm.
maybe I don't know.
Do like an
It's
hour
yeah,
commute home.
yeah. It's the threshold is much lower and then it feels it
It's
feels weird.
yeah, it's so weird. Like in the beginning, I was really good at keeping that schedule. You know, like as soon as work got done, like me and my girlfriend would go out for a while,
Mm,
like just sit near the river for like half an hour and just chill out for a bit.
yeah,
But lately, we haven't been keeping that up. So maybe that's something
me
we'll
neither,
need to
man.
yeah, we need to pick up that habit again.
Yeah. Yeah, but at some point you just get tired of going on walks, right? Because you have nowhere to go. You're just walking for the sake of it, but
Yeah, yeah. It's
it's
always
still,
the same
yeah,
destination.
yeah. But it's still a good thing in these times just to like move your limbs a little bit, breathe some fresh air.
Hmm. Yeah, that's what I've been noticing too. Like my legs, I'm getting old man legs now.
Oh yeah, I had like a pretty bad leg cramp the other day, dude.
Oh
It's
shit,
crazy.
that's a sign of
Yeah.
end times, man. We
Yeah,
we hit
yeah.
80.
Yeah, man. I got a magnesium tablet though, and now I'm all good. Ah,
Oh, oh man. Yeah, that's also why we decided to go out. Like I just really wanted to do something.
hmm.
Like I'm really looking forward. Like as stupid as it sounds, like I'm really looking forward to just going out and taking public transport again.
Yeah,
It sounds
I
ridiculous,
agree.
right? But
It sounds stupid, yeah.
yeah. Oh man. So yeah, what have you been up to lately? You've been working on the tutorial, but as you said, like it's going a little bit slower.
Yeah,
Also, it's from like the how would I say it? From our side. Like we're trying to figure out what the best way is to record our stuff. Like
yeah,
we kind of jumped into the podcast and then tried to adjust along the way, which is going fine actually.
yeah. I think so.
I'm quite surprised by the end result of it. But this
Man, you make it look real nice with the background and the yeah, I like
oh
it.
thanks man. Yeah, and now that we're also on Spotify, oh shit.
Oh my God. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really cool. I told one of my friends, he was like, "Wait, what? You're on Spotify? That's pretty cool."
Yeah, it's another
So
one of those weird things, right? Because it instantly elevates you to some sort of platform. It's like, oh, I'm on
yeah,
Spotify. It's like, oh my god. While it's technically it's not that big of a deal.
yeah. It
It's just
feels cool though.
yeah, it does. Um, yeah, and also to go back to the stuff that's going on in the background. Um, through our Patreon support, we finally got a second microphone that's coming. So we
Oh
can we
yeah.
can finally hook you up to some good audio too, and we
Yes.
can take this to the next level.
Yeah, man. I'm really excited for that. Yeah, but that's the what you were saying before about the tutorials, right? That's
Hmm.
it's really interesting because I have done some like mentoring, I would call it like workshops, maybe is what I would call it, to a couple of people from my own university through a Discord that I have. But I haven't done like a pre-recorded tutorial. I was always just like live streaming myself,
Yeah, yeah,
and it's completely different. It's yeah, I think for a tutorial to be like really nice and perfect. You have to have it kind of rehearsed and pretty much have it be clean. You don't want to fumble with your words, which, as you might hear, I do from time to time.
Yep,
So
same here.
I don't. So I don't want to record all of that. I don't want to recall 1,000 uhs and
Mm-hmm.
wells and all of that kind of stuff. So it's been interesting for me to do that.
Yeah.
I got some of the, like, the video footage that I want. I'm a good way down the road there, but I'm probably gonna have to re-record all the audio and just
Mm-hmm.
yeah, get it nice and clean.
Yeah, it's the same from my side. Like it's been, I think a good way to describe it is that it's overwhelming because you're
Mm,
trying to balance all these factors in your head. It's like, oh, do I need to have this part? Is that important to the core of the tutorial? And then it's like maybe I should leave that out, but
yeah.
maybe then I don't because I still have like the video footage and it creates a bridge between this section and this section. Like
Mm,
there's so much going on in the background that I kind of see tutorial creation in like a completely new light.
totally. Yeah.
It's crazy
And
how much work goes into it, into creating like this really really good, almost perfect tutorial without any of the hitches that you don't really want to have in your tutorials. Like you said, like the ums or like the small hiccups. Like the occasional deviation is fine because then it grounds the tutorial. Because we also don't want to give that perfect image across. Like, look, this is all we do, and we do it perfectly every time because that's not the
yeah.
case.
What?
Oh, sorry to burst your
It's not?
bubble.
Speak for yourself there, Timothy.
Hey, maybe
No.
maybe you and your UVs are always perfect, but
Man, I literally had one of the things in the tutorial where I was like, so now I'm gonna use this generator, and I just couldn't find it because I
oh.
wasn't sure if it was like a fill, a generator, or something else. And then I was just like, oh yeah, cut this one out, Timothy. I just put that. I just said that. I was like, oh yeah, dude, fuck this. I'm not gonna find it. Just whatever.
Yeah.
Reset, reset.
Yeah, it's so weird because I do this for the intro and the outro of the podcast too, where I record the stuff and then sometimes I fuck up the wording. Like I basically write the stuff down before, so I have like this kind of script to go from. And
Uh,
then sometimes because I'm so used to doing everything what's the word for it? Like off the cuff, like
yeah.
just no preparation, just do it. And then I had to force myself to read like the outro to like I need to give a shout out to the Patreon supporters, give a shout out to the website and all that stuff. And then there's moments where I'm like reading it and then I go off on a tangent and I can't steer myself back in and I'm just like
This is
and
not
then I
supposed to
start
be the
again.
podcast. It's just
Yeah.
the outro.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's so interesting, man. Like I'm really glad that we're doing this because it opens up such a new perspective on stuff.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, to take it back to the tutorials, I've been still been working on like the grass tutorial, which is actually going pretty nice. Like I really like the end result that I have. Now it's just
Yeah. I saw that. It was really, really neat.
oh thanks man. It's just recording and editing. It might take a while. I got some pressure from some of the people on the Discord server because we have this nice habit of going in a chat group, like a chat room every once in a while. And
Hmm.
yeah, I got pressured by some people that it needs to be out next week. So yeah, no pressure. Thanks for that, guys.
Jesus. Yeah,
But
you were pretty lax with me about that, thankfully.
yeah, it's also the first time, right? Like it needs to
Yeah.
be done. We don't want to rush that stuff out. Like it kind of needs to be good from the get go. That's why I'm spending so much time on it myself too.
Yeah, yeah, you don't wanna plop out some unfinished tutorial, then
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Yeah, it's not gonna keep people where you want them, right? So it's
Yeah,
gonna drive people away rather.
yeah, exactly. And another thing that we've been talking about in the Discord server was we don't have to go too deep into detail because the details are quite hazy to me, but it's an update to the I think Autodesk or Maya specific licenses for students.
Hmm.
Apparently, they're gonna reinforce like the validation aspect of it, where before you could get like a student license for 3 years, and people kind of hacked the system with that, like me included when I was in school or after school.
Hmm.
And now they're gonna go with like a full validation process. I don't know what that means, but if they really want to enforce that, I think it's gonna push a lot of people away from Maya. And
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I remember when I wanted my substance painter student license, I literally had to send like an official paper from my uni. I had to scan that and send it to them
oh, really?
to yeah, to like validate that I was in the university. So I wonder if that's the way they're going.
Oh, I don't think I've ever done that with substance.
Yeah,
That's
I don't know. It was a couple of years ago. I'm not sure if that's if they're maybe not doing it anymore or whatever. I don't know.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, that's definitely how they did that for a while. And I think that probably that's probably what that means, like the validation process. Is
Hmm.
just to make sure you're not just some guy.
Yeah. But it's kind of weird because it's only meant to be used for learning purposes, right? So then
Yeah.
does it really matter if you just get like a paper verification that you're in this school?
So
Feels weird.
I think it also says like for research and development. So it seems like it's not just it shouldn't just be for people from university. I don't know. And then also, how do they expect people that come straight out of uni to then pay for their license,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
So that's really strange to me. So that's always been weird because don't they want people to, I mean, I guess what they would want ideally is people to like be dependent on their software, right? They want people to learn it early so that they're like that's what they want to use.
Mhm.
And then you kind of give it to them until the people have a job that either like the job pays for the license or like they're freelancing and they have to pay for it themselves, but then they can. Right.
Mhm.
So it seems weird that they would gatekeep that in a way because if people then can't have a student license, then they're just gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna use Blender, and then that's a potential client lost. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not a marketing guy, so I
Yeah,
don't
that's
know.
that's what I
But
keep
that's
thinking too. Like that there must be some sort of analytics, or like they must have some sort of numbers on their side where they can justify this move.
hmm,
Because you hinted at it before the podcast that they have like an indie license
yeah.
that is way cheaper, and that makes it basically affordable for students if they wanna, if they're getting into their first job or they're getting into freelance, that they still have like a professional legal program that they can use for their projects basically.
Hmm.
But then that's only available in like the US, UK,
US,
and Canada, I think.
Australia, I think,
Australia.
yeah, or Canada maybe, yeah. But that's the thing, yeah. It's I remember everyone was like up in arms when this came out, when this update came out. Everyone was like, "Oh my God, I can finally actually like pay for a Max license,
Yeah, yeah.
or a Maya license," and then they were like, "Nope, not in Europe." So,
Oh man. Yeah, that sucks. Because like I mean Maya LT just doesn't cut it. Like I've tried it. Like man. There's some weird restrictions in place that just don't work.
hmm.
Especially when doing like a game pipeline specifically where you make high polys in Maya. It's, you can't export them. So it's just so weird.
Oh really?
Yeah, because they have like this poly count budget limitation that only allows you to, I'm not sure what the number was. This is a couple of years ago, but it's like 100K max or something.
That's such a weird restriction, though,
Yeah, yeah, it's such an arbitrary restriction because you know that
right?
they can just like open the gates basically.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, we need to find some way to keep people uh from using this version instead of the full version. And that's like, oh, let's I guess put this restriction here. That's what it feels like at least.
Yeah.
There must be some more going on in the background. Like it's probably way heavier to export like high poly models and all that stuff. But it's not about the technical limitations at that point. It's how it feels, how it's marketed to the people, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, that was an interesting one. How did you deal with software licenses when going through uni and like your first years after uni?
So actually remember when I had like my first internship when I was 15 or something, that the guy that pretty much introduced me to 3D, he told me, just crack it. That's what everyone does, and then at some point you're gonna have a job and you can pay for it. But I was always like, I don't know, that always scared me. I never wanted to pirate anything. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? It's
Yeah,
just, I mean, he was probably right that everyone was doing it, but I just didn't feel comfortable doing it.
yeah.
So I got the max student license, which is already like the biggest, like that's the biggest cost removed anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so then I think the first thing that I got was Substance Painter because that was like I think 150 euros.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean now it's a subscription service, but back then it was just like a one-time fee.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think at some like some like I think Black Friday sale. Oh yeah, actually at Black Friday sale I also got Substance Painter and Substance Designer. It was like 150 for both instead of 150 for each.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, and then I bought the Marmoset license when it was half off at another sale, and then I had like the basics down. I could model, I could bake, I could texture, I could render, so that was nice. I was using Unreal, which is free, um, and then at some point when I was like in my later times at uni, I was getting more interested in ZBrush. And of course, I had already tried all these softwares out at my university, of course, because I we had the licenses there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I was like, yeah, ZBrush is a pretty important software. You can do all types of stuff with it. And even though I wasn't really using it that much back then, I already felt like I wanna buy this at some point. So what I actually did was I had a little had a job at a little startup in Berlin while I was doing my semester break,
Mm-hmm.
like my school break, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, yeah.
So I worked there for a little over a month, and I got a couple $100 for it, and I bought ZBrush with it. So I kind of
Oh
that actually
shit.
felt really good because that was like the first money I had earned from working in 3D, and I like put it right back into that. So that felt really rewarding, and I'm still using it now. I'm using it way more now than I was back then. So I'm happy I made that investment. I think it's actually gotten more expensive since then. I don't know.
Yeah, I was looking at the licensing options of ZBrush, and now the perpetual license is like 800. So,
Yeah,
but I mean, the licenses for ZBrush are so crazy because that's still one of the programs that if you buy it once, you still get all the updates, right?
that's my understanding. Yeah.
Yeah, but
I'm not
that's
sure
so
now because
crazy.
actually they have this new thing, right? They have the 4R8 or 4R7, right? These versions.
Mm-hmm.
But then they also have the like a 2019.8 or something. Like they have
Oh,
the
okay.
Substance Painter. So I'm now actually not sure how exactly that works. If there's like a subscription service there as well. I haven't actually looked into it.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know, maybe that's nah, I don't wanna put that in their mouth that they're like kind of going around that perpetual thing by introducing a new thing. But I don't know. Maybe that's what they're
I
doing.
think it's good. Like it makes it more approachable, right? Like if you just wanna use it for like a freelance project and you know that you can't go without ZBrush, then you can kind
Yeah.
of do the license or like the subscription for like a couple of months and then just leave it again because you know that you're not going to be using it afterwards for like another 2 years. Just as an
Mm.
example, like it's good to open the gates to more people, but yeah, it's so crazy that they have the perpetual license that is still like, oh, you get all the updates. That is so crazy. But yeah,
Mm.
from my side, um, I think I was in the same situation. Like in the beginning, I didn't have that much money. Like I just bought my first PC for well, back then it was gaming, but then I use it more for the student work too, which
Yeah.
was like a beefy requirement too. I had like an Alienware laptop in the beginning because my dad sort of recommended it, and then like my parents paid half for it, which I kind of paid back at the end with like my student job, but
Hmm.
it was such like a heavy investment in the beginning
Yeah.
that I didn't really have the money to go out and buy like back then it was I was looking at Illustrator. Like this was before university, and like I had a
Hmm.
box in my hands with Illustrator, and it was like 3,000 euros, and I was like, fuck, I can never pay for this. Like this seems like such an unreachable amount of money back then
Yeah.
that it kind of forced me to look for like cheaper options, or as most students do, like just crack it. Like this is not a condonement for stuff, but at some point, like yeah, it's it kind of forces you into that because
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, right? It's not just that I was afraid of pirating stuff or like I not feeling comfortable with it, but I also had the possibility, like I was lucky enough to be able to pay for it.
oh yeah, true, yeah.
So that's the thing, right? I mean, I guess if I wasn't, then maybe I would have gone down that route too. So I don't know.
Yeah. It's such a tricky thing because it's also a big difference in Germany than compared to Belgium. Like all the stuff you read in German is like, oh, don't pirate shit because the police is gonna break down your door or whatever. I
Mm.
mean, that's a fair statement. So,
Yeah, yeah, I do feel like in my childhood I was like I heard that a lot. Like, yeah, just pirating. I mean, of course, pirating's bad, right?
mhm.
But that's I don't know. We had like ad. I don't know if you had that too, like ads in front of every movie when you would
Oh
get
yeah.
it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
You wouldn't steal a movie or whatever. You wouldn't steal a
Yeah,
car.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, those typical ads. Yeah, but it's also like as a student, you're trying to get by, And now that we're earning money. Like I pay for all my software.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think one of the first ones that I bought was let's think. I think I bought Dedo first, like the complete Quixel suite.
Oh, really?
So I got
Wow.
that, and then I used Endu for a long while because if we're gonna be honest, like Dedo wasn't really that great because it was just an extension built into Photoshop. So every time Photoshop upgraded, like they had issues with updating their software,
Mm.
which is also why they stopped supporting it at the end. But I really liked Endu. Like Endu was such a powerful thing before Substance was out or
Mm.
before I was using it. And I think the second thing I bought was my first year of actually working was Knald, like the baker.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah.
Yeah, so I used that for a while because back then that was the only baker I knew that had like a 3D viewport where you could see like the high poly and low poly in action. So you could really
Mm.
see like, oh, I just misaligned the high poly. It was right there instead of like doing a bake. Wait, something seems off. Like, am I
Yeah.
sure I exported it with the correct pivots? And there's like going back and forth, and it was all right there. It was in the 3D viewer, which was super helpful.
Yeah.
And I think after that, like a lot of people, like I bought Substance Designer, Substance Painter, also in like a Black Friday sale, which are like crazy cheap.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
but yeah, that's a big tip for anyone out there, by the way. Just whenever there's like a Black Friday thing, I think for some reason Marmoset has a Valentine's Day sale, I'm pretty sure.
oh yeah, that's another
Uh,
good one.
yeah, so that and they're like 50% off or 33% off. Just get them then.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's a good point. I think they have like a couple of sales a year. It's
Yeah,
not only
yeah, yeah,
Black
yeah.
Friday.
They have a ton.
They have like 3 or 4 sales a year. I'm not sure though.
Yeah.
Marmoset, it is another good one.
Ah, I
I
love that software, man.
I bought the old version, like Marmoset Toolbag 1, and that
Oh, I think
wasn't
I bought two.
yeah, that wasn't really that great. But then 2 came out with like all the fancy stuff in it. And I was like, "Ooh, shit, I might need to like upgrade my license." So that was yeah, I never ended up using that much to be honest. Like it's mostly Substance Designer and Substance Painter that I still use to this day.
Yeah, I love Marmoset for this baking and then also rendering like single props.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's really nice.
Yeah, it's because I'm so focused on environments that I
Yeah.
just do all my presentations in Unreal. Apparently, you can build like environments in the new Marvel set. Like they updated the support for that, but I'm not sure. I haven't tried it yet.
Yeah, I would probably still go to Unreal for that.
Yeah.
By the way, I was looking it up, and it seems like the ZBrush licensing thing, the ZBrush naming thing, it's just that they switched over. So for R8, the next version is like 2018, and 2018 is pretty much just for R9, but they went with another naming thing. So it's
Oh
not that they're
yeah.
like parallels. It's just that it's the next version. It's just not using the same naming convention.
Yeah, yeah. They made them names actually make sense. That's good.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, man. Like student times were quite crazy when it came to like software because everyone was experimenting with like a lot of stuff, and then it's
Mm.
like, oh, that looks good. Like, should I buy it? And like, it's always thinking about like, oh, should I just dive straight into it and buy it and then just see if I can adapt to it, or like try the trial first and do that, or yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. I'm still toying with buying a Marvelous Designer.
Oh yeah. How much is that roughly?
I think it's the weird thing is that there's like I think an older version on Steam actually that's like 300. But I think if you want to get the new one, it's $500.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's
but I think it's perpetual as well, so I think you get all the updates.
oh, that's good.
Uh,
Yeah, because I'm not really a big fan of subscription services.
no, me
That's
neither.
that's why I also made the switch from Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign to Affinity. Like
Oh, okay.
they're just like perpetual licenses, and they're like super cheap, and they're really good too. Like it's crazy how they do stuff.
Oh, Jesus Christ. So you can get a monthly subscription for $50,
This is
or
marvelous, right?
perpetual, yeah,
Yeah.
or perpetual for 490.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
if you get it for over 10 months, then you might as well just get the perpetual license, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm,
I'm more of a fan of perpetual licenses that I don't have to worry about like all the subscriptions, and then like, oh, it's this month, I don't own it anymore. Well, that sucks.
yeah,
Yeah.
man, all
Um.
these subscriptions they add up, though, huh?
Yeah, man. It's crazy. That's why I'm moving away from them. Like I just like to
Yeah,
own stuff.
yeah, I've got Photoshop, Substance, and then I guess yeah, I mean stuff like Spotify, right? But
Oh yeah,
uh,
yeah. That's true.
Spotify, Netflix, but it's just like like each month is like 60, $70 are gone to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
Crazy.
yeah. It quickly
Yeah,
adds up. Like
I
I said.
prefer, yeah, yeah, I definitely prefer buying like stuff perpetually if I can. It's
Mm-hmm.
just so hassle free.
Mm-hmm. Oh, this actually brings us to another topic. Like we can slowly go into that. Like at the end of uni, you mentioned that I think you started working for what's it called, like Elite 3D, right? Was that
Hmm.
straight after uni? How
Yeah,
did
yeah,
you
yeah.
how did you deal with like moving countries? How big of an impact was that?
Good question. For me, it was especially weird because I had actually, I had never lived alone or anything. I was 19 years old and I was living with my mom.
Mm-hmm.
So I got that. I remember getting the email and saying, okay, we would like to offer you a job. And I was super excited because that's what I had been waiting for. But at the same time, I was like, man, I'm really gonna like move. I can't believe this. And the weird thing is that so when I was on my flight, um, I got everything prepared. The hardest thing was actually uh like my dog. It was that was the biggest decision because I had like a I think 9 months or 10 months old puppy that I had pretty much raised from when he
Oh
was
man.
like the tiny little guy,
Yeah.
and there was no way I could take him with me, right? 'Cause I spent like the nights uh, just awake thinking about if I could make it work,
Mm-hmm.
but it just didn't make sense. It would have been super selfish because I know that if I had taken him with me, I wouldn't have had time for him, and it was just not fair.
Yeah, yeah,
So
exactly.
I found a place for him, and it's actually I'm really glad he's got a perfect new family, and because now I'm actually back in Berlin, I can visit him a lot. Not right now, but usually
Mm-hmm.
when there's no Rona out there. Um, so that's great. But yeah, back at that time, that was like one of the big things, right? Because you're not only leaving your friends behind, you're like you're not just diving into something new, but then you also have to make these kind of decisions, and that was definitely a really hard one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then when I was on my flight, I was actually sick on my flight, which was really strange because I had I had never had a problem with flying.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Oh, just like
but then
air sickness or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah,
It was I guess it was just the nerves.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I think it was actually like it was also like my dad who brought me to the airport because my mom was she said she was gonna cry too much. Like
yeah. She couldn't
she was
handle
really
that.
upset.
Yeah,
Yeah. And and then when I arrived, I felt really strange because I didn't speak Spanish. I was in this new country. I had actually
oh
never
yeah,
been to
that's true.
Spain before I moved to it. That
Oh
was the first
god.
time I was in Spain. It was when I moved to it. So I was in this weird new place. I remember also my phone not working for some reason. I had to
Oh my
restart
god.
my phone, so I couldn't call my mom.
That's like your only
And
life support.
yeah, exactly. And then I was brought to the Airbnb, and it was like it was so it was so surreal. Like 5 hours ago, I was in my home in Berlin, and then I'm in a completely new country, and in like a couple days, I would start to work.
Yeah.
And then the first day, it felt I was really homesick. Or actually, not the first day, just the first night.
Mm-hmm.
But then the next day, I started looking around the city. I was like, oh, this is beautiful. This is amazing. I'm gonna live here, whatever. Um, and then I think it finally became like real when I found uh, the the apartment that I lived in then. So I moved in with three other guys. Two of them worked at Elite 3D as well. So
Oh, that's really good that you had people that were working in the same company,
yeah,
and at least you had like this lifeline of like, look,
totally. Yeah, it was great. I love those guys. It was also good to have someone that didn't work there. So like or also they were all like at the start they were all Spanish, so they actually also had other friends in the city that I could then get to know. That was great. Like that's a really important thing to just have people like have an anchor there, right? So you
oh
can
man,
I don't know
that's
we like
that's
used to go bowling.
that's so nice. Like I had the complete inverse. Like
Mm,
I still had people living in the same apartment. Like when I moved to Cambridge, but man, I just couldn't get along with them. Like they were super isolationist, and they were just like, look, I'm just gonna sit in my room, and yeah, that's it. So I just adapted to do the same thing.
yeah, I mean that's I started doing that more and more later on, but at the start, like I was doing more with them, I would say.
Yeah,
But then,
it's
yeah,
also this feeling that it, like you mentioned, like you're sitting on the flight, like it's probably the nerves, like you don't really know what it
yeah,
is, like you're flying to a new country, and I think at that point, like you have the little space between saying bye to your parents and checking in, and then sitting there waiting for your flight. That's when it really hit me, and I was just like, shit, I'm just really gonna do this, right? It's such a
yeah,
weird feeling because you're leaving everything that you've ever known behind to explore like new stuff by yourself,
yeah.
basically.
And you're not going on vacation. You're literally like this is a life-changing moment in the like that's the definition of a life-changing moment, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You're
It's
you're
so
taking the step
crazy.
to change your own life, and it was. I mean, I can't imagine how it is when you arrive and you feel like like you made a mistake. Because I mean, I guess I did that but only for one evening. But I guess there's people out there that did that kind of thing, and then they feel like that every single day.
Oh, you mean like they arrive there and then they feel like they made the complete wrong decision and they want to go back?
Yeah,
Oh yeah, that must
I
have
think
sucked.
yeah, but for me, I was super happy there. So I actually I was super happy that I made that decision.
Yeah.
I yeah, like I said, it's really important to get some kind of s- like friend group or something going, just to have some people there that you can get a routine, right? You can, I mean, also if you're gonna work at a new place, usually there's somebody that'll, go to lunch with you on the first day,
Yeah, yeah.
introduce you to some people. And yeah, that was really important for me as well. I started to make friends and get that, like a little, you find your own little clique or
Mhm.
whatever, right?
Yeah.
um but yeah, and I actually, I was really happy because I like the company also supported me pretty well with, like, doing the whole paperwork stuff for you. You know, because you need to get registered for the in like as a resident and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that was like, I had help from their lawyer and stuff like that. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
Um,
Like all the
and
tedious stuff they basically did. Or like at
yeah,
least helped out with.
yeah. And it's also something that, it's just, if you have the opportunity to do something like that, or if you're in university right now, uh, thinking about applying to jobs, maybe just don't just apply in your country or in your city if you can. I mean, of course, there's definitely a lot of reasons why you like why you maybe can't move countries,
Mhm.
but if you can, I feel like it's, especially if you haven't like lived on your own before, or if you're younger like I was. I mean, I moved when I was 19. I think it's that experience has has made me so much more independent, so much more self-reliant and everything. And it's been an amazing experience. Like before, I was just a kid living with his mom, and then I was on my own working, getting used to, 9 to 5, and just handling his own stuff. I couldn't just, I don't know, like someone else couldn't just deal with it. You had to take care of stuff yourself.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I think
yeah, exactly.
that's such a great experience to have it at like a younger age.
Yeah, man, I totally agree. Like even in the beginning, like it was hard. Like I couldn't get along with with most of my roommates at that time because
Mm,
they were just like, "Look, just gonna sit in my room and just chill out." Like the entire time, they wouldn't really speak. So, like, I actually enjoyed going into work because that's where I had like a lot of, like you said, like you create a connection with the people there, and then every
mm.
Friday we would go out for beers.
Yeah, same.
And to me, it was a little bit easier because I didn't have the language barrier that much. Like
Mm,
I went to Cambridge, so it's like, oh, you speak English. I could speak English, so
yeah,
at least I thought I could pretty well. And then I still remember the first Friday when I went to the pub, and I was there with like a lot of people from my team, and they started talking just like they normally would, and I was so confused. Like there was some dialects that I couldn't understand sections of sentences from. So
all
so
right.
I was like I was just sitting there, and by the time I had my response, like the conversation was already like one step ahead. So
Yeah.
that was really, it was a good experience in that way because it just pushes your face into the reality of stuff. But it
Yeah.
was so nice, man. Like people were so friendly because they also realized that you come from a different space. Like you're trying to settle in. Like you're trying to, yeah, yeah, exactly that. Like get settled in. I was also
Yeah.
super fortunate with some other people in the studio because they were from Belgium too.
Nice.
So I had like a couple that are still working at Frontier Developments, and uh, yeah, there were a couple that came from Ghent in Belgium. So it was like, oh shit, you're from Belgium too. Like it was just like this instant connection that we made.
That's the thing. I had a couple German guys too, and they were the ones that took me out for lunch for the first day. And then actually one of your Patreon supporters uh was one other guy who I got really like friends with pretty quickly. It was Malik Fernandez.
Oh
I hope
yeah,
he's okay with him with me like talking about him.
What, dropping his
But
name?
he's a
Shout
yeah,
out.
dropping his name. He was yeah, he was like sitting a couple desks over, and he was a Maya user and I was a Max user, and I had to use Maya for the project I was working on. So
Oh yeah.
I would just go over to him and ask him stuff, and then yeah, I think we kind of realized that we were living pretty close to one another, so we would like take the like leave at the same time and then like go home together and talk about stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and that was super like it was just great having someone else there that you can talk to, right? Because you don't want to be, and we actually had a couple of people like that started working at the company who would just do their job and then go home.
Yeah.
And I think especially at the start when you don't know anybody, that's really not the right way to go about it, because you're you're gonna have a really hard time settling in, and then
Yeah. Exactly.
yeah,
Like you should really treat it as an adventure. Like
totally.
even when I was alone, like the first 6 months, because I was doing an internship, so it
Mm,
was like straight out of school. I flew to Cambridge, and that was like the
yeah.
next 6 months for me. So I was living without my girlfriend. So what I did do a lot of times was just like in the evenings when I got home from work, I would just go out for a walk or just like take the bus into town and just like explore or like just walk
Mm,
around a little bit.
yeah.
Just like, oh, I've never been in that street. I'll just go walk there. It's like it's everything is new. Like it's so crazy. You barely get that experience in life,
Yeah.
and it's so great. Like and compared to Berlin, like Cambridge is a fairly small city. That's also
Yeah.
what we loved about it. But man, yeah, if you come to like a place like Berlin and you settle down here, like you just get overwhelmed with the stuff to do. Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I
it's
yeah, I
go ahead.
definitely recommend, like you said as well, like just take that step. Like it might make you feel anxious or it might make you feel like uncomfortable for a little bit, but like in the long run, man, you're gonna get so much out of it, so much life
Dude, that
experience.
life experience is yeah. I mean, yeah, it's such a cool thing. It's man, I if I hadn't had that experience, I don't know where I would be today, you know? Like not just the job experience, but just like the life experience too, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's
It's like you said,
man,
like it makes you so independent. Like
yeah,
if something needs to be done, there's no one else to do it for you.
yeah,
Like obviously it's fine, like once you get settled in, it's fine to ask help from other people in the studio, but like in the beginnings, like you just have to figure that stuff out yourself.
yeah.
Like it's it's
Yeah, there's
it's
no
it's stupid stuff, right? It's probably a bigger hurdle for you than it was for me, but like just going to the shop. It's such a simple thing, but it's like, "Oh, how am I going to say this thing in the shop?" Or
Oh
how
my God.
Yeah.
I got so frustrated at one point. We were gonna make like a Mexican food night or something,
Yeah, yeah.
and I wanted to make burritos and I wanted sour cream.
Oh god.
And I dude, I was so frustrated because none of the people at the Consum there, which is like a
Yeah.
supermarket chain, none of them spoke English, and I was asking for crema agria, which is like sour cream, but they just didn't know what I was talking about,
Yeah.
and I would go to like over to like the creams and milks, and I was like, this, I want this. I showed him a picture, and then I went to the chips aisle and I pointed at the sour cream and onion chips, the Pringles,
Yeah.
you know, to be like, I want this. This is what I want. I just want sour cream. But I don't know. They just didn't have it or something. I don't know. It's so frustrating.
Or they might just be fucking with you. You never know, right?
Yeah, yeah. They might have just been, yeah. It's like this fucking German guy. He can get his own sour cream, you know?
Yeah. Oh man, there's so much cool stuff that we can talk about that one. But oh man, I feel so bad for doing this, but we're getting
Oh,
to like the 50-minute mark, and I do wanna
ah,
wanna go into like a Patreon question, right?
yeah, sure.
But I mean, we should get back to this topic. I'm writing this down as we speak. Like, there's so
Cool.
much that we can talk about in just moving countries. Like
Yes.
all the stupid stuff that you had to go through, like all the experiences that you got. Like, man, there's gonna be a lot of fun and stupid stories with that one.
Yeah. Also, just on a side note,
Yep.
because it's I literally got this letter last week. I like still got a freaking letter by my health insurance that is asking now about something that happened in Spain. Like if I was insured then and I had to send them like the insurance, dude, you
Yeah.
know. But now I can deal with it myself
Yeah.
because I'm independent, man. But this kind of stuff, dude, it's man.
So how do you
Like
deal with it? Paper shredder?
yeah, exactly. I that's the thing. I think I told them already which insurance I was covered by in Spain, but I just called them and I told them the name of the insurance. That's literally what I did. I was like, "Hello, yeah, this is the name. Okay, bye."
Uh,
And I think now it's fine because they haven't called me back yet. So,
yeah, yeah. You sure that it isn't a scam or anything?
oh no, I'm pretty sure. I'm
Okay,
pretty sure it's
because
fine.
man, that's another experience in the UK. Like, get used to get scam called. Like,
Oh really?
it's
Is it
like,
that bad?
yeah, yeah. Oh, were you in a car accident like 6 months ago? It's like, nah, I moved here 2 months ago and I don't have a car. It's like, okay, thanks,
Well,
bye, sir.
maybe you had a car accident and you hit your head and you don't remember that you had a car
Well,
accident.
sometimes they try though. It's the worst thing. Sometimes they're like, "Oh,
Jesus.
but you were probably in like another person's car." It's like, no,
What?
just fuck off. All right, but
Oh
that
man.
said, let's
Yeah.
let's dive into the Patreon question. So, I'm just looking through the list. Okay, I wanna dive into this one by Nine Title. How do you keep interest when doing the boring parts of your project?
I'm smiling right now because my question is what's the boring parts, Timothy?
Oh God, I mean UVs, right?
What?
This is such a personal question, right? Like for you, it
Yeah.
might be something completely different than for me. Like I think we also hinted at it in the first podcast, like a little
Mm,
bit.
yeah.
But like there are some moments where in my case I'm just adding details to models. Like that's what I mentioned in the first podcast episode too.
Hmm.
Um, but it's like this detail path because I work in a modular way, and there comes this point where okay, I have all the basic building blocks. Now I just need to
Oh yeah,
detail.
yeah.
So to be honest, how I deal with it is I just force myself. To be honest, like I've built up this schedule of doing work every day, and what I do the day before is I make a list of all the tasks that I want to do the next day. I don't do this consistently, but if I know that I have like a hard task, like this one for instance, I try to tackle that first. So it's Friday evening. Like I know that I'm gonna do work on the project tomorrow. Then I'll just write down like, oh, I'm gonna detail like 5 pieces or whatever, and I'll
Mm,
just do that for like 4 hours or whatever the time slot is that you want to
mm,
set for that. And then I just force myself. And then after that, I get to do what I want, and I kind of see it as a treat because
mm,
I've overcome the first part of the challenge, so to say. So then I'll play a game or I'll do something else. Like I'll work on something that's more fun to me, and then I'll try to build it in such a way that I always have like the hardest stuff that I want to do first in the day, and then I can see the other stuff as like a treat because I overcame the first part.
yeah. Um.
How do you
So
deal with it?
yeah, we're fundamentally different people. I'm just noticing. I mean,
Yep.
we've talked about this before, but what I do is I don't force myself and I wait until I want to do it. That's kind. I mean, that's a little bit. It's a little bit of a joke, but it's kind of true. Mm,
But then how
so,
do you deal with it if you never get to that point?
well, that's what I'm dealing with right now.
Because I think a lot of people are the same. Like I
Yeah,
was like that in the beginning too, but then
yeah.
I realized that at some point like I was building a project and then I would always get to this stage where I would drop it, right? So
Mm,
I kind of needed to find a way where I could either force myself. It might not be the best thing for other people, but it's the thing
yeah,
that works for me, right?
yeah. Well, I mean, so the thing is, for me, it's usually not even that I'm. bored or like that I have to do the boring part of something. It's more like that I'm just not. I don't have any inspiration right now. So maybe that's not. It's not really the right thing that I was referring to. So that's the thing. When I just don't have inspiration, I never want to force myself to work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but if I have to do something quote unquote boring, then yeah, I do force myself to work on stuff, definitely. So when let's say I was working on this bicycle, right? And I think I actually talked about this before, like about this specific example. It's just such a boring thing to model for me because there's no detail on it. Like it's like, but there is detail, but there's no like nice shapes on it. It's just a bunch of cylinders stuck together, pretty much, right? And then like some tiny stuff for like the handlebar and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it just wasn't something interesting to me. Um, but yeah, and then I definitely just forced myself to just like get over with this, get this over with. Uh, put it in ZBrush, add the nice weldings. That was kind of fun, and then uh, get the whole thing done. It's just put some of your favorite music on, put a podcast on or something that you like.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's so meta. We're in a pod. Oh, crazy. But yeah, I just put like
Yeah,
a nice podcast on.
put this podcast
Put this
on.
put this podcast on. No, just put any nice podcast on, as long as it's ours. What? And just man, this is I feel so stupid. I mean, all I said was just do it and listen to the music. But that's what I do. It
But it's
when I
important
work on
though. Like I think
yeah
I mentioned this yesterday in the Discord, where I mentioned that a lot of the artistic journey is not about the work, but it's about you and getting to know
yeah
yourself. Because that's also a thing. Like I do that too. Like put some good music on, but you have to be in the mood for a specific kind of music for it to be good.
yeah
So right now I'm listening to Ghost, which is something that I haven't listened to in like a long while. But now I'm like
hmm
in this Ghost mode basically. So whenever I put that on, I just get the work done easier. So
yeah
it's like it's not a static thing. Like it's ever changing. So at one point it might be a podcast. At one point it might be music. At another point it might be, oh, I'm just gonna listen to nothing. Like I'm just gonna put down my headphones.
yeah
Like it's getting to know uh your own personal routine. And I know that this sounds like a cop out answer, but I do really think that that is the most important thing. Because if you don't know yourself, then you can't really balance yourself out in a way where you can be the most productive.
yeah. So that's the thing. It's I you have to put yourself in a place where you're comfortable, and then I don't. Yeah,
It's a tricky
yeah.
one, right?
Like it's yeah. It's not forcing yourself to do it, but I think it comes easier when you like. I would say the boring parts is usually the parts where you can kind of turn your brain off, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I would say like at least for me, that's maybe what people find boring about UVs is that it's kind of you can kind of turn your brain off. But
Mm-hmm.
that's for me. That's kind of I think I said this before. It's kind of a relief because you're working on your high poly, you're making decisions, you're doing all this, but then I just kind of enjoy not having to make decisions and
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
listening to some music and playing some UV Tetris or I don't know what else could be boring. I guess retopology could be boring. Um,
Read topology could be boring.
yeah.
Like more technical stuff like making LODs or making light maps if you're trying to figure that
Yeah,
stuff
making
out.
lots. Yeah, making lots is pretty boring, I'd say. But that's also that's so easy though, right?
Yeah,
Making lots is such an easy little task. You can just go ahead, put on some nice music and just
yeah.
delete some edge loops,
I think what
you
in
know?
conjunction with forcing myself, what also really helps is I've gotten into. I wouldn't say that I know myself fully yet because there's still moments where I'm getting frustrated with something and I don't really
hmm
know what I need to do about it. If that makes sense. But there are moments when I'm like, oh, my day. I know that I have to do. Um, I don't know. Just as an example, UVs, and then I also want to do some blockouts in the level, which I really like. or like think about modular pieces, which takes, like you said, like a lot of mental energy. So
Mm.
then I kind of know that I have to do the the mental taxing stuff first, because then I know that I get like, oh, the mind numbing stuff at the end where I can just do UVs basically.
Yeah.
But it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's I see this as a puzzle where it's like, oh, sometimes I really just want to do this and I do it like without trying to force myself to do other stuff. Like I have those days too. Like it's just like I don't want to do any of this, and then I just don't.
Yeah. Also, just if you're working on maybe not just one prop, but like an environment, move on to something else and then come back to it.
Yeah, that's a good tip too.
Just yeah, if you don't want to work on this bicycle right now, then maybe work on this vending machine first. That's exactly what I did in my scene. You know, I was like, and then I came back, and then I came back to the bike. And I was like, okay, cool. So
Hmm.
I kind of have like a couple of different things. So I would say, you know, I have uh one tileable texture that I'm working on, and one prop, and one like little branding thing, and then I don't know, one foliage thing that I'm working on at the same time.
Yeah, yeah,
And then if I'm feeling like I want to do some foliage, I work on that. If I want to do some branding, I work on that. You know, like kind of just have a couple things set up so you can choose what to work on
yeah,
today, and then maybe try to balance it out a little bit so
yeah. You
you
create
don't
your
just
own
work on one thing.
variation basically.
Yeah.
And this is something that doesn't really apply if you're really focusing on one prop. I think it shifts more towards just forcing yourself, unless you have like an additional project. But I
Yeah.
don't really recommend that because then it's easier to go for like the fun project that you want to work on and just leave the other one in the dust until you forgot about it, basically.
That's so funny that you said that because that's exactly what I did when I arrived in Spain. I had two projects that I was working on before I moved to Spain,
Yeah.
and then it was the shotgun, you know, the with the big scope, this little
Mm-hmm.
meme shotgun that I made, and then it was the basement environment, and I was working on both because I actually I didn't want to work on my environment before moving to Spain because I knew I couldn't finish it,
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
started on the shotgun, but then I got sick and I couldn't finish it before I moved. So then it was just lying there, fully baked, but not like textured at all.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was literally working on, you know, like on an off week I would work on the gun because I wanted to do that, and then the other like the next week I would work on the environment because I was feeling more like environment. So that was cool, and I actually finished both projects,
Oh,
which
nice.
was nice, but probably that's not what would happen most of the time. So I don't know if I would recommend that.
Yeah. 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 I think especially in the beginning, especially if you're like at the early stages of becoming an environment artist or prop artist or whatever, like it's really important to just focus in and like try to go through like all the steps properly without skipping anything.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man. I hope this helps. Um, I think we hit some interesting topics there. It's also
I
interesting
think so.
how we both have our different ways of working.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that's also like you're doing all that stuff for the podcast and
Yeah.
everything like that, right? And for the podcast, for the website.
Yep.
So I think you're also like already a lot more used to doing like forcing yourself to do stuff. Let's say maybe, or like let's say not forcing yourself, but working on a schedule also at home,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
It's
Because for
it's
me, it was
it's
always free form.
yeah. True. That's a
It
good
was
point.
always like at work, I do my stuff on time. You know, I work on a schedule, but then at home, I'm free.
Yeah, I think
Um,
from my side it's mostly because I have these deadlines, right? Like the
yeah,
podcast needs to be released Tuesday,
yeah,
and then Thursday is a blog, and then I also have like another, like we're working on articles, we're working on tutorials, so I kind of need to get all that stuff set up before we want to release it. So yeah, there's just a lot of that stuff going on, which kind of
mm.
forces me, like I can't really procrastinate that much anymore. I still do, don't get me wrong, but like I
Yeah.
just,
But there's like deadlines you're gonna miss if you
yeah,
don't.
yeah. There's pressure attached to it. Like I might get to a point where I do the blog on like Wednesday evening, where I tend to do that on Tuesday. But then like Wednesday evening, I know, or like even Thursday, like before it needs to launch, like an hour before, and I still need to do like the weekly tip, which takes like the most of my time on that blog. But
Mm.
I just have to force myself and like really rush it because yeah, I only have an hour basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, I still get into that stuff. Like it's a balancing thing. Like you're just gonna have to experiment with different ways that work for you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing. I mean, yeah. In the end, if it's not gonna work with you, then it's not gonna work. So definitely, like Tim said, just do what works for you and figure out just through experimenting. You know, maybe you're gonna do something at the start that doesn't work for you, but then you know that and you can check that off the list and go and do something else, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. All right, man. This was a good one.
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah.
I was At first I didn't really know what I was where we were going, but I think we found a
Hey,
nice little spot.
don't spoil that. Like we know what we're doing.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yes, of course. Everything according to plan, sir.
All right, man. It was good talking to you again. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the podcast. If you did, then you can check out the playlist on the right for more episodes, and don't forget to like, subscribe, or share it with friends. If you're an environment artist trying to break into the industry, or just looking to grow your skills, you can find a ton more resources like weekly tips, blog posts, and more on beyondextend.com. But that's going to do it from our side. Thanks so much for joining us, and a shout out to all of our Patreon supporters who made this possible.